Life Fixers. Hope you're having an awesome day. Are you ready to better understand yourself, your partner, and your marriage? You will on today's episode. If you haven't followed or subscribed, depending on which app you're listening on, do so now so you don't miss out on upcoming episodes. You are going to absolutely love today's guests, Andrew and Nancy Paradis. Andrew is a relationship coach or a life coach or just a coach and educator who is really studying relationship and the energies in between people. Thank you so much, Andrew and Nancy, for being here. I'm super excited to be speaking with you. So Andrew was telling me that men, when there's many people in a room, as soon as somebody interrupts, they stop and they listen, versus me, while he's in the middle of talking about interrupting, I'm already interrupting him again. So my question is, as you were saying that you're stopping to interrupt, because you're talking, so I'm going to not fight for it. But why? Like, what's the reason that they actually stop and like if somebody else is interrupting?
Well, it's the interruption, right? So either you like, there's something that you need. It's interesting for us when we speak males, I'm talking males. And again, when I say males, I'm making sweeping generalization. We have to assume that, it's not 100%, but like a big majority, right? I have to say this because people go, I'm not like this. That's crap, right? Well, that's this. Yes.
It's not like it's everything. Yeah. Now I'm being really self-conscious every time I'm talking and interrupting.
But it's true, right? Like we have to we have to make sweeping generalization about the way things usually are, like 80% of the time type thing, right? Men will do this 80% of the time, women will do, and the rest is it's fluid, different hybrids, But for most males, when we speak, it's because whether there was a question, it's important to you. So if you ask me a question, I start speaking, I'm assuming it's important. So then I go in with here I go. So if you ask me what I think about something, I'm really going to tell you what I think about something, right? But if you interrupt, then somehow something's not connecting. So I stop. Now for the typical woman, female, if you want to put it this way, your interruption is sort of jumping into the conversation, right? So I'm talking, you go, oh yeah, I do the same thing. But I just stop talking because you're talking. And you're like, why are you stopping? I was just agreeing with you, right? And I go, well, then why are you cutting me off if you're agreeing with me? Like, don't interrupt me. I'm in the middle of it, right? So it's just the default system. Men don't speak on top of each other. It's just a way of operating. You ladies just blend it all together and it works for you. That's all.
So I just finding it really interesting. I'm trying to think of all the people that I like interviews that I have, conversations that I have with people for the podcast. If really it's like the men that really stop, I could see some people that really do, men just stop. There are some females also do. Could be it's also because I'm more right, they're being recorded and there's certain things. It's it's going to be obviously a little different than just having a conversation with someone. But how come afterwards the men don't go back? It finished, it stopped, that's it. What happens?
What happened?
It's a good question.
You're not gonna like the answer, but in a nutshell, it's disrespectful. So get this. So if you ask me something, I think it's important to you. If I'm talking, something obviously is being exchanged between us, right? It's important. This is how I feel. This is how men think. Right. So because we don't talk for connection, we don't talk for the noise, we don't talk for, oh my God, I love your shoes, or we don't do this. We talk because we exchange information, data, right? Or we don't talk. And the rest, when we're together, there'll be a little storytelling and stuff like this. But it's when I talk, I'm assuming that you're interested in hearing it. It's important. Okay. So when you interrupt me, literally it derails me. And now I'm a little bit insulted because now I have this, they basically stops my flow. And I think now, well, maybe she doesn't want to hear it. So why would I go back?
Okay.
This is what happens.
Okay. I'm listening and I'm processing and it's going through all the other information that I know about all different things. And I'm trying to figure out, is it purely 100% just a biological chemical difference? Or is it because of a cognitive thing of the way men brain are wired? Or is it because of an emotional thing of the way the men were wired? You just said, right? A little bit like an insult, you're insulting me type of thing.
So there's typical males, and that's usually how we function. There's other things I just talked about this, but for the typical male, get this. This is actually worse than you think. Are you ready? Women complain, how you doing? Anytime you want to jump in.
Women, yeah, you interrupt.
And the work that, see how she doesn't say a word though when I speak. Never, right? It's like she knows. But in my works, I do men and women relationship dynamic stuff and explain women about men and men about women and all that jazz and those different, those gender differences that are so like acute and broad and huge that we don't understand because we don't operate the same way. But young men, this is not pretty, but young men have learned by the time we're young men, like in our teens, I would say for most of us, because every time we start speaking, the feminine typically interrupts, whether it's my mother, my girlfriend, my friend, like interrupted, jumping into the conversation for some reason, for the connection. But so we learn by the time we're young men that I never get to finish a sentence, ever. I never get to finish a sentence. I never get to finish a thought. I never get to finish answering the question. I'm being interrupted. So what happened is women later on in life say, he never talks. He gives me the one word answer. I never know what he's thinking. Well, good training. We actually learn way, way earlier that we never can finish a sentence or a thought. So we don't.
That's intense.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So what do we do? What do we do? Say, so babe, how was your day? It's good. And you're like, what's the rest of it, right? You want the connection. As a woman, talking is a connection. But I've learned that if I start, you're going to cut me off. So I don't.
Okay, so what would you suggest to like a woman who's listening to this and she's like, actually, that's true. That's really me. I see my husband does that. I want to change this. I want to like, obviously can't like undo everything, but I want to be able to make it easier for him to talk in the future. How could you start doing that?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, that is. Here we go.
Because it's taken me a long time and I'm also an introvert anyway. So
she tends to be quieter.
I do tend to be quieter, but it's so worth it to not interrupt and let your husband or partner, whatever, say what they want to say, because you often will learn about them something you didn't know before. And it's really fascinating. I mean, we're married 29 years. He's still telling me things I've never known. Like, wait, I've never heard that story before. So that's just one that came to my mind. And I don't know, it's just a feeling like you're his soundboard. You're going to let him finish and have his thought. And then, and then you can join in and share yours. So there's this exchange, not competing, because you won't compete, will you?
Well, not for that. I guess that it's rude. It's actually rude.
You'll go quiet.
You go quiet. So you don't want to hear it. Okay. You interrupted. I was in the middle of talking. I mean, I was teaching this in a workshop one. It was hysterical. And we had little pods. So I'm sitting in a pod with six women and 2 guys. Right. And this woman says to me, I'm the coach, right? I'm the leadership coach. She says, my husband always gives the one word answer. What's that about? And I go, well, and I try to explain a little bit of what I'm saying here. Right? Typically, we learn very early that we never get to finish a thought or a phrase, that you get interrupted. And I'm in the middle of saying this, she cuts me off.
So ladylike.
Right. No, but she just jumps right in. Well, I don't understand because, blah, 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 blah. And then I stop and everybody started laughing because they all got it, but she didn't get it. She did not get it. I said, you just did it. What? I said, you ask a question. I'm trying to answer your question about your husband not saying 2 words, and you just did it to me. You interrupted me. Oh, well, and with attitude, well, go ahead then. I'm like, all right. So what I was saying is, and she interrupted me again and again. And I'm like, see what you're doing? You're training very well. I can't even answer your question that you're asking me about your husband to fix it. And you won't stop interrupting me. So she goes, well, and she went over her head. Everybody else got it. So it's just, okay. So I have a new client for a few weeks now, and she's a 34-year-old young girl. And she's like, found a guy that's interesting. It looks like they really have a connection that's going to go further than just dating. It already has. And she's like, how do I get to find out what's going on with him? Like, what's going on with him? Like inside of him, you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to see if we line up in the future, we're on the same thing. I go, simple, let him talk. Ask a question and put a tape on your mouth and just look him in the eyes so he knows that you're paying attention. But don't say anything. Don't interrupt him. Don't, oh yeah, me too. Oh, that's great. Just say nothing. There's no right? There's none of that. It's hard to do. It's very hard to do. Especially a young girl, right? Like she wants to you just jump in to participate. It's part of the fun. I go, don't just, right? And she came back a week after. They had another date with this now on her conscience about just let him talk. Don't interrupt him. Just stay connected with him. And she goes, oh my God, the things that I found out without saying a word is because he had this space and he kept going and going and stuff. Everything that I want to know. he revealed so much more that I ever could have found out if I kept asking and talking. She doesn't even have to ask. I asked one question and it kind of came out. She goes, but I had you in my head. Talk, leave me alone. So it's magical, but most of us have never experienced that. I'm going to say this. Most of us haven't experienced that, especially with women. Because men on men, we don't do it.
Okay. So I'm going to like take this a little bit differently. Okay. I have this thing. I interrupt tons. But at the same time, I love like asking people open-ended questions and just like letting them see where they're going to take it and just like listen to let them say. Now, I have a problem. I don't respond when people answer. I'm like, if I'm like in a really deep, like, or even just like very conscious conversation with someone, I'm just like looking at them. Much harder over Zoom, that's for sure. But just like really like, you know, with the vibes and like reading their body language and everything, I'm like just looking at them, letting them talk. And many people complain that afterwards, like that while they're talking, this is especially women, they like need a response. They need to hear something back. I'm like, I'm giving you feedback just like by my facial expressions, just like by listening to you, right? Like with my eyes and things like that. And they're like, no, that's not enough for me. Say something. What should I say? So that I'm not cutting them off. I'm not interrupting them, but I'm giving them back that feedback so they know what they're saying, like that they're feeling heard.
And it feels like support. You know, they feel like they're being supported.
Right. They're in the conversation with you. Oh, I get it. Oh, yeah. No, she didn't. Oh my God, sure. Really? Oh, that bitch. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, you're right. I totally get it. Oh my God, it's happened to me too. You know what I mean? Like that back and forth venturing for you ladies is connection. So woman on woman, it's actually appropriate and they actually like it because if you don't bounce back and forth enough, but get this, and this is how women mistake us, males all the time in our lack of words. Right? Because woman on woman, you know this, it'll connect right away. Like, so let's say you and I work together, right? And we work on the same floor, right? And we know the same people. And there was a party at the office party on the weekend that you can attend, right? So you get to me on the phone on a Sunday morning or whatever, even at the office, but let's say on the phone, just for lack of visual. And you call me and you go, so Alex, how was the party? And you go, let's say instead of me, it's her, woman to woman. It's gonna take the example more home, right? Right. So you call her, how was the party? And she says,
it was good.
And you go, okay, well, so who's there?
A few people that you know.
Everyone. And you're like, so like, you know, did Jack show up and the others? Yeah, I think I saw one of them. So a woman to woman, if you get the one word answer, you're convinced there's something wrong. She's mad at you, right? She doesn't trust you. Something happened. She heard something you said about her somewhere, right? Woman to woman. Yeah, everyone. It was fun. Sure. It's death. You know something's wrong. So when we do it to you, you often think there's something wrong with us, that we don't like you, we don't trust you, we're mad at you. Different operating system.
That's amazing. I didn't know where you were going with this.
That's awesome. That's what happens. So often women think one word answer, he doesn't love me. He doesn't care. Or big mistake. This one is huge. Women think, again, I'm making generalization, but a lot of women think that because men don't speak much, then men don't think much. Big mistake.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one.
I actually believe that men are shallow. He has nothing to say. What do you think of this? It's good. Like they think men are stupid and shallow because they don't speak. Big mistake, right? Because now you're going to disrespect them in ways that you can't even conceive with that thinking, just saying.
So how do women support if she's telling a story or whatever without, so that she feels supported, but without interrupting her? Is that just nodding? No, I think the ST's question was, how can women, like if a woman's not giving any feedback, it's just weird. It feels like uncomfortable, but how can she do that without interrupting her friend?
I would say less.
Let me just say for a second that I don't feel like I'm not giving feedback because I'm giving feedback through the body language, through because especially if someone's like sharing something that I don't want to interrupt them because I want them to answer the question. So on my end, I feel like I'm getting feedback, but for some reason, they're not feeling it.
Well, do you have maybe, because I'm going to say, all you have to do is be part of that conversation. Like, oh yeah, yeah, I know, right? That kind of stuff. You don't have to interrupt with a sentence. just like make noise, agreeing with her, going with
Noise.
her.
Yeah.
Like, me too. I know. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, me too. Right. That kind of stuff. But I don't know for you, maybe it's something because I had my own podcast for a couple of years. And, one of the first complaints that we had from the very get-go, my assistant, which is obviously a girl, would constantly go on the recording, because when you do a podcast where there's no visual, it's all auditory, right? It's audio podcast. Sure. Oh, I get that. And it made people absolutely insane. They came back with, can you tell her to shut up when you're talking? And she was being not disrespectful. She was just like, yeah, of course. Did that make so much sense, right? It's just little sort of but listening back on an audio track, it was being smacked in the head the whole time. She was constantly and I only got it when I re-listened, because the women even were getting irritated with her. Like, can you tell her to shut up, And I'm out. So when it was difficult, I had to train her, and I said, look, it's not you, it's not they, but audio wise, it's very, very distracting. It's irritating. And I said, so she went and she listened. She was, yeah. But for her to not do this on the recording without visual again, right? She's like this the whole time.
Torture.
And she go like this. And I finished my sentence because she wanted to jump typically mid-sentence. And I go, and so what do you think? And she would almost like, right? And then she go back. Because it's on so many level unnatural for the feminine flow. So, you might have that conscious on you, not to interrupt and let him speak, just because of the podcasting sort of setup. It's made to, you don't roll on each other. It's very distracting and very irritating for listeners. I'm just
totally. I know, even for myself, when I'm listening to other people's podcasts, even if the host says not even I know, just makes the noise, it's like you said, just shut up.
See?
I'm my brain the entire time, I'm listening to you, I'm talking to you, but at the same time, I'm in my brain thinking, men don't interrupt when they're talking to each other. I don't get it. When they're sitting together, 6 guys, they're not interrupting.
Nothing. It's unbelievable.
And I think that's really fun, something fun to watch when you're out in public or in a social situation at work or wherever, and watch men, observe them, because it's really hard to understand and to fathom.
It's sorry.
Yeah, no, I have a kind of a juicy story that I'm not sure where it fits in, but I think it's worth telling.
I want to hear it.
Okay. It's not really it's a story, and it's really going to support women in this topic and the goodies that they'll get from it. And so what happened is earlier in our marriage, my husband is a car fanatic, beyond classic cars. All of them.
It's written all over his face.
It's just all over.
Thank you.
I tell him he needs to be a forensic identifier for the police, because he can look at a corner of a bumper and know what make, model, and year. It's insane. And so when we were younger in our marriage and with younger kids, I didn't understand it. And in a way, it's kind of one of those eye-rolling things where you wanted to go to the junkyard, or he would drive around and look for these classic cars in people's homes. Really, you have nothing else to do but look around. And then one day, I don't know what inspired it, maybe because you were sharing something, possibly I didn't interrupt, or I was really listening. And he shared with me the passion behind it, history of car making, where the country was, in the pride of making these vehicles, and it went on. And he was really being vulnerable in what he shared with me, and it changed everything. And I'm like, why? I just had respect that this is something he's passionate. We all have things we're passionate for. I don't have to have the same to understand it and say, go do your thing. It makes you happy. And it changed everything. That moment, it just clicked. And it just made it easy for me. Oh, okay, go to the junkyard. It makes you happy. And, you come back all dirty and smiling.
Love it.
Do you remember that day?
I do. Just because I have this thing for classics, American classic from the 60s, the big fins, stuff that's an era that's gone by, and I get to restore them. I get to save them. I'm preserving heritage, and it's a funny thing. This is a man thing as well, that it has a motor. That means it has a life. When it starts, it's alive. You don't understand? To bring life, it sounds ridiculous, but man cannot throw away things that have motors. It's just because it's got life. Like a blender has a motor. Don't throw that out. Just say, but a car with the era and, the just the smell of it and the generational stuff and the fact that everything we're making from here on is disposable and made to be thrown away in 10 years. There's nothing, we're not going to be saving any of these cars that are the past since the 90s. Everything built is made to throw away. And, you can put a brand new Mercedes in the garage and it's going to biodegrade, even if you keep it shaded and air conditioned.
Wow.
Where you could put a 70s, 60s car, a 50s car, you could put it in the barn for 50 years and put a little bit of gas in the carburetor, turn the key and it'll start.
Oh, cool. Actually, when you think of it like that.
and it's alive again. And it's a piece of time, from the looks of this.
If I had interrupted you that day,
right.
I would not have gotten all that.
And neither of you interrupted me on the speech right now. So that's beautiful. Like,
sorry.
You get to learn that. No, you get to learn that.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I never heard that part about it. It's alive.
It's alive. It's as a motor. It's alive.
Yeah.
I just got to bring it back.
Wow.
Turn of a key in the battery and a little gas. Whoa.
Okay, whoever is not listening to this, whoever is listening to this just audio and not on YouTube has to go back and look at this when you're not driving and watch this just to see Andrew's passion. That is it. When you understand someone's passion for something, now I understand, Nancy, why you just had no problem with it. Because when you understand the passion and see where it's coming from, it's it makes the other person come alive and you're yeah, go do that. I want to see you when you come back. Just all that energy is so awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's really simple, huh? I mean, she doesn't have to understand it, but she gets it. Do you know what I mean?
Respect it.
And respect it.
Yeah.
And she'll look at me sometimes. She's like, do you need to go to the junkyard? You're a little uptight. You just get in the car and get dirty over there. And for me, just be on the property, literally, the smell of gas and oil. It reminds me of my childhood because I've come from a family of car guys. So we're always playing with cars, under cars, smelling just tweaking. So that just takes me right back to my childhood. And it works. It's soothing.
Yeah, I'm okay, bring you back to your childhood, your emotions with that, all that. I'm not going to go into that now. I'm going to ask you instead, what other major differences do you see between genders that have a big effect in not such a good way, or maybe in a really good way, on marriage?
Oosh. There are so many. Let me see. The big one is the non-understanding are real differences. Do you know what I mean? So in our culture, this is the stuff that I get to talk about and teach every day of my clients. If we don't understand the other one's operating system, what's instinctual, right? We think we're so beyond our bodies and our instincts. When we're educated, we evolve, we live in societies, we have rules, we're just so civilized, but we forget that our DNA is ancestral. Our DNA is caveman, cavewoman. Our DNA is hunter-gatherer. These are two completely different ways of operating in the world, right? So if you consider that normal males, right, again, typically it's not 100% that we talked earlier, but normal male, so you'll see them act and behave and operate like a hunter. They can do one thing at a time, hunters, right? They don't want to talk about it when they're doing it because it's distracting. They have to seek, if I have to get back into our caveman eras, to spear a bunny 30 feet away with a crooked branch that you sharpen takes a hell of a lot of focus, right? To sneak up on it with the guys, there's no talking when we're hunting. You'll scare the prey, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we do instinctively that's 2.5 million years old. But we forget, we think we're better now. We're, hey, we're civilized. And yes, but the program is still hunter-gatherer all the time. So men are single focused. Men go out in the world. Men are heady, very, very heady, left lobe, if you're a right-handed man. So more data on left-handed than everything else. Not now. But
I'm so curious. You can't do that to me.
But let me finish and we'll go back to it then a little bit. But so to be masculine typically is the right-handed man, spend their time on the left lobe, which is logical, linear, planning, plotting, pushing, conquering, getting ahead of life, right? There's a fighter, there's a hunter brain, constantly looking for more and better and better and better to provide for myself to survive and provide for the family. The hunter has to take all the big risks out there and sometimes get maimed and hurt and killed to make the family survive. Try not to get killed, but it's dangerous. You know what I mean? They'll go for 3 days and come back. And it's funny, it's the same today, right? It's ridiculously the same dynamic if you go back to what typically works better, right? So he comes back from the hunt with the rest of the men 3 days later, you know, they go plop. They plop the buffalo down. They go, so all beat up, covered in dirt. Little Johnny lost a finger in the hunt. And now we think it's funny because, you know, and so here we go, ladies, plop. We're going to sit by the fire and tell stories about how little Johnny lost his fingers. Funny as hell. Well, today the fire is a television set. You know what I mean? We'll go to work, you come home, right? And the ladies sort of do the back end of the story for the equation to work, right? Like providing, protecting each other different ways. But there's a complementary in that, right? That's sort of in our bones in every possible way that you can imagine. That we think we're beyond that, but we're really, really not. So in that, men are heady and a woman typically is more hearty, right? You live your life through your feelings. We don't. And for you, sometimes it's unthinkable. And it's shallow and it's shitty even. And it's like, you know, he's only thinking about himself or he can't see behind himself, right? And part of the operating same thing, right? If you're going back to caveman, cavewoman, because most normal males are what I call internally motivated. I need to turn, my radar is focused inward because this is the way I have to be to survive, which means I got to think about, you know, what do we need to hunt? What do we need to survive? What do we need to, what do we need? So for me, for the weak, right? For the tribe, right? This is ancestral, but as a man in this culture, it is the same thing, right? Like to plan my life, I have to plan my business, I have to plan my money, I have to plan my career, I have to plan my going up in status in the world and building, right? So that's all heady and inward. You know what I mean? I'm always thinking what I said earlier, like women think, men don't talk, always thinking, always in my head, always somewhere else. So the feminine, which is externally motivated, right? You ladies, everything you see, smell, hear, taste, touch, whoo, like your radar is always wide open and everything comes in, you're aware of everything around you, everything all the time, which is sometimes makes you overwhelmed, right? So you're externally motivated. So you're aware of everyone in your space, especially us, if you're one of us, right? So
I agree.
This is my favorite thing. I know. So internally motivated male, always turned in. So if you're next to me and I'm thinking, she's like, he's not present. He doesn't care. He's not talking to me. He's not connecting to me. No, I'm turned in, but I'm planning for us. So for the feminine, it's always uncomfortable. So this is how we tend to look disconnected, as shallow and, you know, not caring. Turned in. For you, it's so turned out that so are everything, especially me, that often like it's baffling to you, like, you know, like that. He's so like, so my favorite, I taught this to one of my clients and her boyfriend's name is Brad. And she just learned that stuff. And she's like, call me back. I think it was 3 days later. She's like, I saw it. I got it. She goes, you know what? When I get up in the morning, my first thought is, what does Brad need today? And she goes, you know what Brad's thought first thing in the morning? What does Brad need today? And it sounds terrible, right? But internally motivated, what I have to do for us, me, for us, her is like, what does he need? For him, for us, maybe, right? Totally different. It's interesting. So this is a big disconnect. So women think we look disconnected, we look shallow, we look uncaring, we look, you know, not interested, not loving, always stuck in our heads. You always feeling, pick everything up, us and everything around you. And often you get your feelings hurt because it's so unnatural to not be like us. Like, you know, my girlfriend gets it. How come he can't? Well, that's a man.
Okay, now you're constantly saying like women talking to women. I don't know if it's just because it's us two here, but do men have an easier time understanding the woman versus a woman understanding a man?
Not a bit, not one bit, because men don't understand why you're talking and you don't stop. Because we're looking for why you're talking. What's the point? After a while, there's no point. So we go, right? She's still talking. I have no idea why. She's still talking. I have no idea what she's talking about. I have no idea what she's going about. It's overwhelming, right? So man just sort of, but yeah. So men like, and when you're upset and then you try to explain that you're upset, right? So like you use your brain trying to explain your feelings, but you can't explain your feelings. So they're just your feelings. And then you go on and on and on, and you try to logically explain how you feel, and you become completely illogical. And you watch yourself just rolling and rolling and go, oh, I sound like I'm crazy. And he's like, well, so like we often find you completely sort of like spinning, but we don't know why, right? And for you, you see us as kind of quiet, disconnected, unfazed, and you don't know why. This is so they're both just two different sides, and they seem extreme from the opposite. It's just men and women. It's just men and women. So instead of making each other wrong, we actually kind of, this is my job, right? I bring you in the middle.
Yeah. This because I think it's tangible, and it was ST your question on like what do we get wrong, in marriage relationship, and this is one again. I don't know how many years it took me to figure out. I don't want to rush into anything here, but I'm a working woman, and as well, the house needs to be taken care of, and meals, and take care of the family. So like everything is overwhelming. I come home from one job, and then, as we all experience, and there's the house to take care of. And so it never ends. And when I was younger, I would just keep going and going and going. And so Andre would come, it's 8:00. Can you come sit with me? And I would come sit down and not getting like, and he's back with the television. And I'm like, well, we're not connecting here at all. You're watching television.
You're not talking.
I figured he's not even realizing I'm sitting next to him, and I would get up and leave. And again, maybe I don't know how long that went on, a couple more years. And he's like, I forget specifically, but it was a day that I realized he wants me next to him. This is his time with me. It doesn't mean he's pouring all his focus into me. We're just sitting together. And that was huge. And so, even today, I'll just go and sit next to him when it's starting to get 8:00, 9, whatever, 7:00, like my day's done. I'm going to stop what I'm doing, go sit with your man, and then he gets this little smile, it's so simple. It's like these little teeny things that get missed that I think are huge. We miss them, because we're assuming whatever we're assuming, but if we can get them, oh my gosh, they're huge.
Can I book on that?
Well, the other thing about you rescuing me is beautiful.
Yeah. But it just to piggyback on this one, what most women don't understand about us males, right? Is that, again, the way you connect is by talking and doing all this stuff, right? And you try to connect with us by talking like this, and you understand it doesn't work, right? It overwhelms us, and then we're looking for the point, and then we get frustrated, and then we kind of fade out, and you can see us like fade out, and you go, oh shit, I lost him. Like he's not interested, and you talk more, trying to bring us back in, right? Like you see us disconnect, you talk more to bring us back, which is the first thing that disconnected us in the first place. Your way of connecting doesn't work on us. It doesn't.
Like pushing it away more. Yeah.
Right. The more you talk, and the more you if a woman, this is again nature, right? I teach nature and biology, right? The biology of our bodies and what works and why. So if a woman needs to talk as a lady, again, it's back in the cave lady era of gathering community, makes you feel safe. And as long as you're connected to your man, that he's happy with you and he connects, he's talking, he's obviously happy with you. Except we don't do this as male. Now, if you have a real one, right? Like if it's a masculine man. So then how do we connect? If you connect by talking and we don't, I'm going to ask you this question.
How did you know that was my next question for you?
How do we connect? Can you guess? How do men connect if we don't do it your way?
By doing things together.
By doing things together? Say more. Yeah.
Like Nancy just gave the example of you sitting there and watching TV. You didn't especially have to talk, but you have to be like in the same presence together.
That's it. So the way we connect is be in my space. So we know how men have the man cave. Man cave, be do not be in my space. When you're in my space, like I'm aware of you, and it's irritating, distracting, whatever. But at the end of the day, when I'm done with all that stuff, right? All I want is to be my girl, right? And what that looks like is I'm going to invite you in my space, not to talking preferably not included. The quieter, the better. Not to talk. That makes me work. That's overwhelming. When we make a man talk, you make him work. That's why we get mad, especially when I'm trying to relax. Don't make me talk. I know that's how you connect, but right? So again, what I teach is a dance. Talk to her so she feels connected, and then do it his way. Like go back and forth between what she needs and what you need. That's really important, right? But we have to understand the mechanism and why and how it typically works as opposed to make each other wrong. So we need to get this. You ladies miss this all the time. This is a man trying to connect. Are you ready? Let me give you a perfect example. Hey, babe, you want to come to the store with me? And she says, well, where are you going? I go, Home Depot. She's like, nah, you just missed it. You want his woman with him now, just to putz around and go home, but he wants to be with you. Hey, baby, you want to go for a walk? Oh, it's cold outside. I know. Okay. This
makes me sad.
Is that silly though? But most of you don't know because there's no talking, so it's no point, right? Sit next to me watching TV, no talking. But this is my girl, right? If you're looking for her after 8 o'clock, she's right here, all the time, purring, no words, just purring. She usually falls asleep, right?
Is that good enough?
That's awesome. That's awesome because she's with me. That's what I want. She's in my space, right?
And I spent many, many years not there.
She spent many years.
I really did. Yeah. Not understanding that.
At what point? When did you learn?
A great question. I have been hearing this information 10 years. I think it's probably an intimate conversation, like I really miss you. That when I found out he really misses me, when I get really spinny or I get involved with I teach and do productions and stuff. And I just didn't think he missed me when I wasn't there. I really didn't get that. And like
last month
it happened. It happens in little chunks, and when I really got that, it hit hard. I'm important to him. He misses me when I'm not around. I'm also the glue of the family to create this energy, this warmth that I didn't get that. It was just so many things I didn't get that, the feminine energy brings. I think to answer your question, ST, when I really understood feminine energy and really took a look at that in myself, and I thought I had feminine energy, and I just made this shift in myself and allowing myself, a break and understanding my kids miss me, my husband misses me, they want me around, and God knows, we have to dig into my childhood, what that's about. But, and that was it wasn't just an aha moment. It was a slow shift to answer your
question. Yeah. It's like literally changing everything that you're doing. I can't imagine it like happening overnight.
Yeah. That push, do. But I want just so the listeners don't mistake something you said. When we're in your space, like you mentioned the man cave and like it could be irritating to you. There was something you've said before about like, if we're in your space, you feel responsible for
Can't relax. They can't relax.
Can't relax.
Can't relax. Like women will say to me, because again, this is the work that I do. Like, he likes going to the gym and I go to the gym. So why don't we go to the gym together? He's like, no, and why? That seems weird and rude. Like, so what do you do at the gym? They don't want me to see. That's not it. Because if I'm in the gym and I'm trying to train, right? I'm in the gym and I focus but if she's in the room, I can't relax. She's in the room. I'm like, who's talking to her? Who's the hell? Who that? I know that little. Right? I can't train. I can't I can't do what I do at the gym for me when she's there. So, go with your girlfriends or go on your, but like stuff like this is, same thing. Like, your friends, why can't I hang out with your friends? Your friends like me. I can't relax. If to be with my friends is when my downtime and I need you need some, not all the time, but like, that kind of, there's a normalcy to that, right? My hobbies, if you don't try to jump into my hobbies, ain't gonna be the same because I'll be aware of you. Are you okay? Are you hot? Are you cool? Do you want to go home? Are you tired of this yet? Because I'm not. But if you are, it's gonna, you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. So there's a place and time for all of it, and it's all negotiable. And so we could both sort of get what we need with each other and away from each other.
Yeah.
That's juicy.
Yeah, it was explained really well. Like things are like falling a lot in place and really clicking.
Yeah.
So we're like heading towards the end, but I really want to hear about those left
end. Okay. All right. So this is science. Again, nothing I'm teaching is my opinion. I have opinions about stuff that I teach, but it's not my opinion that I'm teaching it's science and data and nature. And nature has a way of, you go against nature long enough, we can all do it, but there's a price to pay eventually. And so I'm trying to teach, because it's upside down in our culture right now, more nature stuff. So people don't pay so hard because people are paying hard the price right now. So I'm being abstract on purpose because it's another topic. But
I could talk to you for hours. Do you know every sentence you say is like something I'm really interested in learning?
Another podcast. I know. Another podcast. Oh. I've done one for 3 hours last week because it kept spinning and turned into like I think 4 different shows. But the nature of the beast. It goes this way. But anyway, so right-handed man, or because the brain controls the opposite of the body. So we now know, this is brain studies and research, came out like some really amazing stuff the past 10 years. But you have left brain and right brain, right? So brain is like this big two pieces, but look where my palms is down here, right? Where they connected. So the brain is connected at the bottom. Left brain, logical, linear, planning, plotting, speaking is all from left brain. Speaking is very masculine, all left side, right? Because you have whatever. The right side of the brain is artistic, creative, letting go, which means when men watch TV, they're on the right brain. There's nothing to produce. They're just experiencing life, watching the show, right? So we function left and right, depending on what's happening. Thinking, I want to simplify it. Think, feel, right? So the bottom of the brain down here, where the two pieces are connected, is called the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum on women, all women, left-handed man or ambidextrous man, and or genetically gay man. Not genetically as opposed to anatomically gay man, because it's physiological, right? Have the same brain. Thick corpus callosum. And what that means is you ladies, again, along with the left-handed ambidextrous men and anatomically gay men, have the same brain, which means you all can think and feel at the speed of light.
Wow. Huh.
Think, feel, right? So you can mix it up in your words. Think, feel. I feel like, this is really terrible, but I think this is great ultimately. Even though it feels bad, I think it's probably the best thing to do. It feels a little funny, right? You can, right? You ready? Right-handed man have a teeny tiny corpus callosum, which means the exchange between the right lobe and the left lobe is difficult and takes time. So right-handed normal males are either thinking or they're feeling. They can't do both. So if you're in a fight with a woman, right? And he can't fight with you because he can't do this back and forth. And you'll say something, what do you think? And what am I saying? And you'll say, I don't know what I'm thinking. And you go, how the hell can you not know what you're thinking? What's wrong with you? He can't, because when he's emotional, he can't think. Absolutely can't think. He's not stupid. He's a right-handed man. He can't think. So what they do is they remove themselves. They go to the cave, and then they have to go slowly. How does that feel? I see her point. Yeah. Clunk. Okay, and so I think that's probably okay. All right, hold on. So it probably feels better. So it's a complicated back and forth. It takes time, like 10, 15 seconds in between, maybe longer sometimes. Oh. So like it's for us to have to process something. What do I think? How do I feel about this? It's a slow spiral down into me. And if you get this, right? You have a fight with a guy, can't tell you anything on the spot. He can't think. If you're upset, he's upset. He can't talk, right? A left-handed guy will come at you like a girl, right? You have an incredible battle. Right? Because they have the same brain, they can do this. But a right-handed man will have to remove himself. Now, depending on the size of the confrontation, the fight, or the problem, right? It'll take him between 1 or 2 hours to 3 days to come back to you. He's going to go away, right? And he's going to come in and out of the house, and you'll go, look, nothing's going on. Not true. Looks like nothing's going on. Putzing with a car or whatever, like no words, right? But depending on the size of the problem, because it has to work it out to be able to go, I think I got it now, right? He'll come back and he goes, I think I understand what happened. And you're like, really? I was there 2 days ago, but you can talk about it. He can talk about it. You can't talk about it. He can't do it. That's kind of important, don't you think?
That is so cool. I think like when you see it in science, it like changes everything. And like, that makes so much sense. I'm curious, maybe this is a crazy question, but is it possible in any which way to like thicken the corpus callosum?
No, it's genetically, that's fine. So it's not, how does that work? People think that people are left-handed because they're stuck on the right side. No, it's the wiring of their brain comes out in their hands.
Right. Yeah. 100%. No, but like, let's say I do, like, I work with people on like rewiring their brain, and it's like a lot. I'm like, build, right, growing new neurons and new neuron connections and things like that. So I always see like, yeah, you could grow those neurons and dendrites and things like that. So I'm just like, could you grow that also?
No, because the top of the brain, left and right, has all these connections, and you could grow and build. And we know the brain is the plasticity of the brain is incredible. We just discovered that like a little bit over 10 years ago. Incredible.
Actually, there are people that discovered it before, but nobody knows about it.
Well, it became like
known, like 10 years ago.
In the stream, right? Because even before this, people didn't get this. If you want to talk, people didn't. We only researched men's brains because of the chemistry of women. They were too unpredictable, and they thought, well, we can't come up with some facts with a woman's brain that keeps changing because of the chemistry of your hormones. So like for years, they only studied male brain because they're basically the same when you look at them. But because one is soaked in testosterone, the other one's soaked in estrogen, they function differently, they grow differently, they corners that were completely overdeveloped and less developed, right? So, but they look the same. So for years, from decades, from the beginning, scientists only looked at male's brain thinking, well, it's the same over here. Not. So all this new stuff is what I'm talking about. It's very, very new as far as the history of the world and science,
So it is fascinating.
There's some stuff. I know. I'm a geek. I research everything. Like I'm just thirsty for all of it. Like, give me more.
I know, like biology and these things.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The stuff that explains men and women's behavior and the things that we keep making each other wrong for. Yeah. We actually forget that we're actually chemical machines. So my chemistry will have me be interested in different things, right? Be motivated by different things, right? Be like everything that I like, she thinks is boring or weird, and vice versa, right? Because but a lot of it is chemistry, right? What turns me on to her is like, really? And when she finds really exciting, I go, wah, wah.
I mean, I have passions that he's, please don't drag me to the
right, okay. Right.
But can I just say something? I know we're sort of at the end, but when you were saying a man might take 1 to 2 hours to 3 days, I mean, and that's happened to us. And just I think I bring a tangible thing to the table here that for women, it's torture because, we want to fix something now because what if this goes on too long, it's going to get swept under the carpet. We're not going to address it. It's, we're just going to pretend like, or whatever. And it's so uncomfortable. And because he's not really talking to me while this is going on. And this actually happened during a vacation on us. And it was the worst day ever, but it's so worth it to let him figure things out so you can have a calm and successful conversation. Like ultimately, that's what we want. Let's work this out. But if you give each other the time, as uncomfortable it is, then you can be respectful when you talk to each other, or maybe you will apologize where you never would before. But it's very uncomfortable.
And it's not our fault, right? It's like I say, if I didn't create any of this. I said, we don't blame God. We're built that way. Like and again, if you go back to ancestry, it makes sense. All of it is explainable. There's a reason. You can break everything down. We don't have time here, but all of this completely makes sense for biology, for survival back in the days, right? 2.5 million years ago it started. So no one's misbehaving. And you're going to notice that if you insist on trying to get him to explain to you now, that it gets actively worse because he can't. And now if you're going to try to manhandle him with the fact that now he's upset and he needs to get away from you to figure it out, and you're going to come after him, this is actually kind of dangerous, right? So I always say to women, when a man decides to remove himself, let him go. Because if you get in his way and you want to, you don't, because you don't want him to leave because you're going to fall apart because you think he's never coming back. That happens, right? That's the instinct of like caveman instinct. Now he's mad. He's going to walk out the door. He'll never come back. He'll get in his car. I'll never see him again. So you're trying to stop him. Dangerous. Because when a masculine man is upset, and you get to the point where I need to get away from you, is because he's actually protecting you, because now he's getting about to blow. And this is when people get hurt, right? If he's trying to leave, let him leave. And, doesn't mean he's not coming back. He's, he'll come back, give him the space, but this is not a time to go after him. Dangerous.
Woo.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to protect you. I like that. And you're just like not letting him by trying to
he's trying to move himself because he knows he's getting dangerous. He's getting to the edge. And, what we do is, as a rule, the feminine fights with your words, right? This is how you go at each other. You fight with your words. We fight with our fists. So if you can overwhelm me with words and then push the button, and now I've had enough. I got to get away from this and then figure out what we're going to do. And, oh yeah, you're just a coward. Why don't you just leave? Push the button.
It's lethal.
This is dangerous, right? So women make that mistake a lot, thinking I'm going to make him. Just saying.
Yeah.
Not blaming anybody. I'm just saying.
Okay, so before we get to our final question, even though I don't want this to end, where could Life Fixers connect with you and learn more about you?
All right, so my website is projectequinox.net. Equinox, like the equinox of, between day and light, that perfect place between darkness and light. That's what I do, men and women, like that place where we meet, not all my way, not all your way, but there's a place in the middle. That's what I teach. So Project Equinox, EQUINOX.net. If you go .com, it'll take you to a planetary something. That's not me. And then I offer, there's blogs, there's YouTubes, there's a lot of podcasts on there. Mine is off the market now because, long story, but the podcasts that I'm on and stuff blogs that I wrote. But when I'm offering your listeners, if you go to the contact/appointment tab, I offer for anybody who's curious about working with me, if they're curious about, they need help, support, right? So you book a VIP breakthrough. I call it breakthrough calls for free. It's complimentary. You just click it. We speak for an hour. So you tell me what's not working, what's it you want, and you can help. So, but that call alone, whether we work together or not, is actually super powerful because we kind of dive right into your childhood and the triggers and the injuries. Because, when I teach my client, I'm helping my clients get into healthy relationships, but it's impossible if you bring your baggage. So we discover your baggage in literally that call, just point it out. There it is. So that has to be undone. And it's good stuff. The call is on its own very valuable. And I'm happy to do this for anybody who's curious, interested.
Awesome. Okay. So those links will all be in the show notes. Now for our final question, one that I ask everyone, how would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, or intimacy?
Respect.
Cherished.
Yeah.
For me, cherished.
Cherished. Yeah. So it's interesting. So it's a bit of a conversation too, but you'll probably get it really quickly. And this is part of what I'm teaching because out there, we've lost that whole paradigm. For a man to be able to cherish any woman, right? Like dating, for a man to cherish a woman, he has to feel respected first, period. Because get this, when you respect a man, which he requires just to show up, right? When you respect a man, he feels cherished. When he feels cherished, he cherishes you. When you feel cherished, when you are cherished, you feel respected, which in order, you respect him more, which makes you feel cherished. And he cherishes you and you feel respected. And so that's the up funnel. So we both need and want to be loved, cherished, and respected, but there's a different order. You have to respect the man first in order for him to cherish the heck out of you. If you disrespect him, trying to change him, trying to tell him to do, trying to mother him, he's doing it wrong. He's done, he's gone, he's out of here. It's impossible for him to attach himself to a disrespectful person if he's normal. And think about it. Like it's for us, respect is more important than being cherished. Again, it's backward. Yeah. There's a lot of research on this. Ask men if they had the choice with their wives or girlfriends to either feel loved or respected, which one would they go without? And they go without love. Because respect is that much bigger. For you ladies, it's opposite. And there's a loop, like I said. Respect him, he'll love you. When he loves you, you feel love, you feel respected, and back and forth. It's quite fantastic. So again, it's the coming together from the way that we need to come together, not doing her way, doing his way. That's not it. It's the dance. It's the dance. You have to get in the dance.
That is so good. Well, thank you so much, Andrew and Nancy. This was so much fun. Like I said, I could go on for 3 hours with that, if not longer.
And we can do it again.
Totally. Oh, yeah. That's all for this episode of the Life Picks University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.